It started as a normal day. Then the phone rang. Bad news. Mom's sister had died in the country. We had to drive to the village on Saturday for the funeral. Outside it was autumn. The rain had washed the roads away. Dad didn't want to go. I understood him. It wasn't his family. Why waste a weekend and wreck the car on terrible mud roads? I was in bed but I couldn't sleep. Voices drifted through the wall. Mom and Dad were fighting. I held my breath and listened. Listen, Olivia, Dad said. I know you loved her. But think about the car. I bought it 3 years ago. I haven't even paid it off yet. You know those roads. A guy at work, Steve, wrecked his suspension out there last week. I'm not stupid, Mom snapped. Just drive carefully. And don't talk to me about money. My parents paid for half that car, George. You owe my family. I take you to the market, Dad argued. That doesn't count, she cried. You eat the food too. Look, if the car breaks, we'll figure it out. Just take us. Or is your precious metal worth more than my sister? It's your sister, not mine, he grumbled. You have no respect. Shoo. You'll wake Thomas, Dad whispered. Fine. I'll drive you. But not the boy. Funerals are too stressful for a kid. I still remember seeing my grandpa in a coffin. Gave me nightmares for a week. Leave him with the neighbor. Thomas loved her too. Mom insisted. How can we leave him? He saw her twice, Dad shot back. Why drag him into this? I stopped listening. Sleep took over. But one thought nagged me. Why did Mom lie? I barely remembered Aunt Natalie. I just recalled a heavy woman with dark hair who smelled like sweat. We never even spoke. How can you love a stranger? Why did she say I loved her? The next morning Dad was gone. Mom was at the stove stirring soup. Finally up, she muttered. Go wash. Breakfast is cold. Mom. What? I heard you fighting last night, I said. Why did you say I loved Aunt Natalie? I didn't even know her. She froze. Then she turned slowly and looked at me. Mom snorted and turned back to the stove. You just forgot, Thomas. You were only 3. She loved you. Your father is just lazy. He wants to drink with his friends instead of respecting the family. Maybe I did love Aunt Natalie once. I just forgot. Arguing with Mom was useless. Dad agreed to go, so I had to endure it. We waited in the cold rain for Dad to pull the car out. The drive was silent. Dad glared at the slippery road. Mom looked out the window. I sat in the back, clutching a bag of gifts. Mom warned me not to crush them. 15 minutes later, we turned onto the dirt road. It was a nightmare. The car slammed into potholes. Dad swore constantly. The shaking made me nauseous. I tried the breathing trick Grandpa taught me. In out. It didn't help. We bounced around for 20 minutes. The funeral was still an hour away. The mud got deeper. Dad hissed curses, wrestling the steering wheel. Mom finally looked back at me. Just hang on, she frowned. Suddenly, crack. A loud scrape of metal against stone. The engine roared like a beast, then died. I jumped, almost dropping the bag. Dad stormed out and looked under the chassis. George, what is it? Mom asked. The muffler is gone. We aren't going anywhere. I told you this road was hell. So we walk. Mom asked. I can't fix this here, Dad spat. Wait, Mom said. This is Miller's Creek. Uncle Paul lives here. He used to work with my father. I'll ask him for a ride. She slammed the door and walked into the rain. Dad glared at her back. Surprisingly, she returned quickly. She was smiling. Come on, she said. Uncle Paul can take us. He'll even drive us back to the bus stop later. You go, Dad shook his head. I'm staying with the car. I'll call a tow truck when I get a signal. Uncle Paul was a heavy man in a worn leather jacket and stained sweatpants. He adjusted his greasy cap and smiled at me. Ready to go, Thomas? I nodded silently. I had no choice. He laughed and patted my shoulder. I shrank away. He smelled of sweat, cheap tobacco, and stale cologne. We got into his car. Mom sat in the front. I was in the back. Uncle Paul drove an ancient orange sedan. Honestly, I liked it better than Dad's car. The seats were cracked red vinyl. They sat high so I could see everything out the window. It smelled different inside. Old. Paul chatted quietly with Mom. shaking his head in sympathy. He shifted gears aggressively. The gear knob was cool. It was clear amber with a tiny crab inside. I stared at it. Was it real? I felt sorry for the little guy. Trapped forever just to be a decoration. Let's go through the woods, Uncle Paul suggested. It's a shortcut. Half the time. Won't we get stuck? Mom worried. Nah, he waved a hand. Your city cars are weak. This old girl is built for mud. Don't worry, Olivia. I know these roads. I looked out the window. The rain slowed down. Cows stood in a field soaking wet. Poor things. Do they make raincoats for cows? Suddenly the car swerved right. Straight into the forest. The road was rough gravel. The car bounced violently over rocks and holes. Branches scraped against the windows like bony fingers trying to get inside. My stomach churned. It was worse than before. I let out a groan. Thomas, hush. Mom snapped. Stop whining. We're almost there. Don't embarrass me. She had been saying almost there for a long time. It was a lie. Easy now, Uncle Paul said. I'll put on some music. The music was ancient. Old people stuff. I hated it, but I stayed quiet. Anything was better than fighting. The ride dragged on. A hare ran across the path. Then 2 squirrels. I watched them vanish into the endless trees. We had been driving for a long time. No village in sight. When will we get there? I asked. You said it was shorter. It is, Paul said, smoothing his mustache. Just 5 more minutes. Look ahead, Thomas. See the gap in the trees? That's the exit. The gap. I squinted through the gloom. I don't see it. It's right there. Where? Uncle Paul slammed on the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. What is it? Mom gasped. Did we break down? No, Paul muttered. He looked around confused. Olivia, maybe I'm going blind. Do you see the exit? No. Should it be here? Straight ahead, Paul said. His voice sounded tight. The road goes straight. It doesn't turn. We should be out by now. Are you sure? Mom asked. Maybe you forgot? I'm sure. I was here in the spring. He scratched his head nervously. Unless, maybe loggers made a new road? They cut down trees and changed the paths. That must be it, Mom said. Scoundrels. Let's turn back. We need to find the fork in the road. Right, Paul nodded. No other choice. The drive back felt just as long. But we never saw the fork. We never saw the exit. Uncle Paul kept clicking his tongue. Mom was silent, but her eyes were wide with fear. Uncle Paul, I asked softly, did we miss the turn? Impossible. He scratched his head. These woods are small. You can't get lost here. And I don't see any loggers. Wait. Slow down. Mom hit his shoulder. Look there. That fallen tree. I see it, Paul said. I saw it when we entered, Mom said, breathing a sigh of relief. That's it. We must be close to the edge. Exactly, Paul said. Olivia, don't worry. We'll be out in no time. He stepped on the gas. I watched the trees pass. Still no light. It's taking too long, Mom whispered. Yeah, Paul nodded. Are you sure that was the right tree? I don't know anymore, she admitted. Paul pulled over to the side of the road. Dead end. A wall of old logs and branches blocked the path. Behind it, solid forest. No way through. That's it. Paul threw up his hands. Where did this come from? Turn around, Mom begged. We'll pay you whatever you want. Just get us out of here. Turn around with what? Paul tapped the dashboard. Tank's empty. I thought it would be a quick trip. Didn't bring a spare can. We're stuck, Mom whispered. Now what? We walk. Paul scratched his head. If we go back, we're stranded. We need to find people or a highway. I started whining again. Mom glared at me. Quiet. It's not far. You heard him, it's a small forest. Small. I screamed. We've been driving for half a day. I want to go home. I don't want to watch them bury your sister. You didn't even ask me. Mom snapped. She swung her hand and slapped me hard across the cheek. Paul looked sympathetic but said nothing. He got out and helped me over a fallen branch. Gloomy day, no sun, he grumbled, scanning the sky. Let's find a path. Maybe we'll meet some mushroom pickers. Stay close. I know these woods, but you'll get lost. I wondered how he could know everything if we were already lost. But I kept quiet. I took Mom's hand and we trudged into the gloom. Paul led the way. Wet leaves squelched under our feet. The trees whispered ominously. This forest felt wrong. Too dark. Too dead. No birds. Maybe I was just tired, but I was scared. We walked for 30 minutes. Not a soul. Finally, Paul stopped by a fallen log. Break time. Sit. I sat down, hugging the bag. The smell of roasted meat and pastry made my stomach growl. Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have some? No. That's for the wake, she snapped. I cooked all morning. We can't show up empty-handed. Olivia, let the kid eat, Paul said. Forget the wake. We need energy to get out of here. Mom frowned but untied the bag. She handed me a cabbage pie. I swallowed it in seconds and washed it down with compote. She tied the bag tight so I see. Rested? Let's move. Paul started, then froze. We all froze. A strange sound cut through the silence. It was a man's voice. Low, raspy, and deep. He grunted something, a word or just a noise I couldn't tell. Someone's there. Mom's face lit up. Hey, hello, she screamed. No answer. Maybe the man was surprised to hear us. Follow the voice. Paul jumped off the log. Where did it come from? Olivia, your ears are younger. Which way? Over there, I think. She pointed. Let's go. I thought it came from the left, I argued, pointing the other way. You imagined it. Mom snapped. She marched off in the direction she chose. Uncle Paul and I followed in silence. The voice vanished. We called out. Nothing. Let's try the other way, Paul sighed. Olivia, please. No, I heard it clearly, she insisted. Maybe he left? I asked. Maybe I was rigged. The voice returned. The same low grumble. But this time it came from behind us. From where we just came. He's back there. Mom screamed and ran toward the sound. We chased her. Hey, can you hear us? He must be moving, I panted. We are chasing him, but he is getting farther away. Yeah, Paul wheezed. Keep up, Thomas. We ran in circles. Mom and Paul shouted, but the stranger never answered. Then the voice stopped again. Darkness fell. We had no watches, no cell phones, just the dark woods. The voice called again, from a different direction, then another. We ran blindly but found no one. Night took over completely. Uncle Paul leaned against a tree, gasping for air. It's no use. He wiped sweat from his brow. We are running like fools. Someone is mocking us. First here, then there. Maybe we imagined it? Mom whispered. Maybe we are just scared. All three of us? I asked. We all heard it. We did, Paul agreed. But the echo is tricky. He isn't where we think he is. What do we do? Mom whined. You said you knew this place. You trapped us. I do know it. Paul slapped the tree bark angrily. Olivia, don't blame me. I didn't do this on purpose. It is your fault, she sobbed. You wanted the shortcut. I've been here 100 times. Paul pulled his mustache nervously. The road is straight. But this time. What? Mom screamed. Did you drink this morning? Did you miss a turn? How does a road just vanish? They stood in the dark, screaming at each other. I stepped away and covered my ears. I hate when adults fight. I wanted to disappear. To hide from their angry words. Suddenly they stopped. They jumped back in fear. I dropped my hands, mouth open. A dark shadow swooped over their heads. It circled, then dove into Mom's hair. She screamed and swatted at it. The shadow flew off, wings flapping. Then it dived at Uncle Paul, knocking off his cap. He yelled and stumbled back. What the hell? He cried. A bird. Mom gasped, holding her head. What does it want? The shadow returned. Silent wings cutting the air. Two round, yellow eyes flashed in the gloom. Cat eyes. An owl. I ran toward the call. I forgot Mom's rules about strangers. I was alone. I had no choice. Maybe she could help. I ran through the trees and saw her. An old woman sitting on a log. She wore a heavy coat and a headscarf. She stared into the distance, humming a tune. She acted like I wasn't there. I stepped on a dry leaf. Crunch. She turned sharply. Oh, Thomas. You found me. She smiled. Ma'am? How do you know my name? I've seen you, she said. You visit the village. You probably forgot. Ma'am. I lost my mom. I started to sob. I'm lost. We were going to the funeral in Oakhaven. Please get me out of here. I told her everything. She listened, clicking her tongue. Paul is a fool, she shook her head. He caused this. He is a local. He should know better. You cannot enter the woods today. Why not? I asked. I realized I didn't even know her name. Because today is the Day of the Dead, she whispered. The spirits of ancestors walk freely, especially here. The forest belongs to them today. Evil forces lead people in circles. That is why Paul got lost. That owl? It wasn't just a bird. I sniffled. I didn't believe in ghosts, but I didn't argue. I just wanted warmth. I wanted Mom. Fine, she said, standing up. I will lead you out. She reached out her hand. Won't you get lost too? I asked. Me? No. I am allowed here. Why? She didn't answer. She just took my hand. Her palm was dry. And cold. Cold as ice. I shivered. But I followed her. I had no choice. We walked for a long time. Maybe 30 minutes. Finally, the trees thinned. We stepped onto the edge of the forest. In the distance, I saw lights. Dogs barked. A car passed by. I cried with relief. I knew this place. It was Oakhaven. The woman led me along the tree line, staying away from the houses. She stopped and pointed. See that house? The one with the blue fence? That is where you need to go. They are waiting for you. Go, Thomas. And remember, never enter the woods on the Day of the Dead. I walked fast, dreaming of a warm house. Then I remembered my manners. I turned to say thank you. The edge of the forest was empty. She was gone. I sighed and walked to the house. I knocked on the gate. Silence. A dog howled. I knocked again. A man with gray whiskers looked over the fence. It was Great-Uncle Jacob, Grandma's brother. Thomas, he gasped, opening the gate. Come in, boy. Where are your parents? They pulled me inside. I burst into tears. The warmth, the people, the noise, it was overwhelming. They asked questions, but I couldn't hear them. Everything was a blur. A woman in black sat me on a sofa. The table was full of leftovers. Cold cuts, pickles, a few pies. I wasn't hungry. I looked around the room while wiping my tears. It was a typical village house. Whitewashed walls. Old furniture. A cuckoo clock. A faded tapestry on the wall. And there on the nightstand sat an old TV. On top was a photo with a black ribbon. I froze. My tears stopped instantly. The woman smiling in the photo was the same woman who just led me out of the woods. It was Aunt Natalie. The police found Mom and Uncle Paul the next day. Olivia was covered in terrible wounds. Her face, her head, her hands all torn apart. She had fought off the owl. She survived. Uncle Paul wasn't so lucky. The bird had pecked through his skull in several places. He bled to death waiting for help. The strangest thing? They were found just near the edge of the forest. How we were lost for hours is a mystery. Paul's car was found in a dead end. That dead end had always been there. The straight road never vanished. There were no new paths. It defied logic. Of course, no one believed me. Not about the ghost. They said it was stress. I cried and argued, but it was useless. Eventually, we stopped talking about it. Mom recovered, but the scars remained. She grew bangs to hide her forehead. Dad changed too. He treated Olivia like a child. He blamed Paul. He said Paul was drunk. But I have a good nose. Paul wasn't drinking. George refused to believe in magic. You just imagined it, he said. I don't know if Mom believed him, or if she knew the truth deep down. But she never spoke of that day again. Neither did I. Why bother? No one listened. Years later, in 8th grade, I talked to my biology teacher, Mr. Reed. I told him the story, except for the ghost part. He listened carefully. Thomas, he said, I can't explain the road. You were young, maybe you got confused. But the owl? That makes no sense. Owls are shy. They hide from humans. They don't attack groups. And they certainly don't kill grown men. Are you sure he didn't hit his head on something else? I shrug. Another skeptic. Mr. Reed promised to check his books on animal behavior. I walked home through the empty park. It was getting dark. A cold mist fell. Suddenly a glint caught my eye. High up in a tree ahead. I stopped and squinted. 2 reddish lights blinked at me. What was that? He screamed and swiped at the bird. It was too fast. It flew away, leaving blood on his fingers. Uncle Paul shook his fist at the sky. Is it hungry? I asked, looking around. Is it protecting a nest? Nest. Paul spat. It's autumn. Chicks are long gone. This thing is a monster. Suddenly the owl dove again. Talons forward. Beak open. It slashed Paul's head. Blood sprayed into the air. Mom grabbed my hand. Run, she screamed. We ran blindly. Behind us Paul was cursing. Then a thud. I looked back. I froze. Paul was on the ground. He was fighting, kicking, waving his arms. But the bird was maniacal. It attacked with a fury no normal animal should have. It was too fast for him. Don't stop. Mom yanked my arm. Move. My legs were tired, but fear pushed me forward. I looked back one last time. Paul was gone. His screams faded into the dark. Then the sound of wings. Right above us. I ducked and pulled away from Mom. The shadow swooped down out of the gloom. It ignored me. It went straight for her. The owl tangled in her hair. Mom tripped and fell hard. She waved her arms, trying to fight it off. The bird pecked at her face. Her eyes. I wanted to help. Thomas, run, she shrieked. I'll hold it off. It will kill you. Run. I hesitated for a second. Then I ran.